Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a fantastic day. As always, leaving a like, leaving a comment or subscribing. All of these things do help out the channel immensely. I film with natural light, as you can tell. It is quite bright, but it's also like clouds passing by, so at some point you'll get it. Anyway, today's video is going to be a very popular topic for a very long while. It is basically about the everything crash that we are currently going through, but that is probably also going to get a lot worse. The point of this channel is not to hype you or depress you. It's simply to tell you exactly what's really going on in the world. Basically, you must remember the 2008-2009 housing, bank, market, everything crisis that we had before. Part of the issue is that crisis was never actually solved. A lot of people pretended like it had gotten a lot better around 2012, 13, 14, and 15 by basically saying everyone's making money again. Everything is hunky-dory, as no one says. But the problem is that the Federal Reserve, basically the people who print the money in the United States, came up with the idea of let's just print more money. A lot of people became used to the idea of this printing of money, and the money was swiftly thrown into different types of markets, which made all markets rise once again. The dramatic unconclusion, because it's still going on, of that was the situation that took place. It's still currently taking place, but also was a major topic in 2020 when everyone was locked inside of their homes. They decided to print more money, and this is currently the problem that we're having right now. They basically printed too much. Inflation is very high, and it's affecting everything that we see around us. As the people who got us into this situation try to get it under control, they're doing so by raising interest rates. The idea is if interest rates are higher, people will not be as incentivized to take out free loans, mortgages, get credit cards, and therefore people will save a bit more of their money, inflation will go down. That's the general idea, but it's not working as planned. As we've seen inflation in many different countries not only stay the same, but also continue rising. And part of the issue is, I didn't even know why I air quoted there, it's an actual issue, is that the US dollar is the world's reserve currency. This was pushed on to a number of countries at the end of WW2 in the 40s and 50s, and basically told them you are mandated to now use this as your currency or to use it as the finalized transaction when you are transacting in your own currency. And as such, as the US dollar does bad, every other currency now does bad or even worse as well. The issue happens to be that the Federal Reserve announced at the beginning of 2022, or roughly the end of 2021, time frame doesn't exactly matter, that they would be trying to raise interest rates once again to actually lower inflation, but it's not working. And the news that we got earlier this year was that they were thinking of maybe only raising interest rates a couple of times until we actually got to around September of 2022, and now we're getting indications that because inflation is still so high and so bad that they might have to continue doing this. And this leads us to the collapse of everything. You must have noticed over the last couple of weeks or months, the prices of everything seems to be going down. Or rather, the assets that people have purchased seem to be dropping in value while the prices of things in the supermarket continues to rise. That's the exact way to say it. Part of the problem, this video is nothing but problems, so I'm going to be saying that a lot of times, is that what they thought was going to work is not working. And it's actually only hurting the rest of the world because once again, the world for some reason follows exactly what the United States does. You can even see that if you watch my other channel early in the morning, other stock markets react to how they think the US stock market will react. If the stock market reacts one way or another, the rest of the world also ends up following suit. So, as we are now in a situation where inflation rates keep rising, but also the interest rate is going to keep rising, this is going to be incredibly detrimental to basically nearly everything on the entirety of the planet. The stock market keeps falling basically because back in 2008, 2009, once again, the idea was made that if we just start printing more money, we can throw it into the market, we can bail out the banks, and it worked. for the richest people. They gave them a new lease on life, and this is why you kept on hearing new billionaires being made. Apple went from a $100 billion company to a $3 trillion company because there was so much extra money that was allowed to be pushed into these markets. So when we hear news that in 2020 that interest rates were going to drop and in order to alleviate some of the stress from the markets, it did. And it made it, clouds came in. It made a lot more people very, very rich, but it also didn't take care of the problem of the actual money printing. So now that we're hearing from the Federal Reserve that they've turned off the water tap, and they're also going to be raising interest rates, everything else is collapsing because basically these markets were running on free and cheap money. See, it makes a lot of sense. So once they said that they're going to stop doing all of that, this is where we see the downturn in the stock market. This leads us into, for some reason, and this is the light bane of my existence, is the cryptocurrency market. As we have seen, for some reason, about the last 9 to 12 months, there is a dramatic amount of correlation between the stock market and also the cryptocurrency market. If you were in the cryptocurrency market any time before 2000 or even around 2019, Bitcoin and the wider market usually did quite well whenever terrible economic events were happening. The entire idea of Bitcoin is a safe haven asset away from fiat currencies, as Bitcoin is deflationary. So when we see inflation in other currencies, Bitcoin historically used to do well. For some reason, over the last year, it has not. It has followed almost to a T exactly where the stock market has gone, and other cryptocurrencies have also followed suit. It has also destroyed many other markets having to do with Web3 or decentralization or metaverses or NFT, you name it. All of it is being taken down basically because of the actions, and I say this jokingly, but also not jokingly. This is all happening because of the actions of one person who everyone waits for, Jerome Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve, to stand at a podium and say either yay or nay. It's weird to think about that. The actions of one person and what they say dictate the money-making abilities of 8 billion other people on the planet. But alas, that is where we currently are. Stocks are going to keep falling until we hear that the Fed is no longer raising interest rates. The silver lining, I don't know if that's a silver lining. The silver lining is that they cannot raise interest rates forever. At a certain point, they have to stop. You cannot have a 15% interest rate because no one's taking out a loan, no one's getting a credit card, no one's getting a mortgage. It's just not going to happen. It's just a matter of how much time that we actually have to wait until this happens. My general feeling is either the end of this year or sometime around spring. Historically, this year, we've seen them raise interest rates by 0.75%. I don't know the exact number of where we are now, but once we start teetering around a 5 to 6% interest rates, the Fed will de facto be forced to stop, or all markets are going down to zero. You see the movements that we have down in the markets now. Even in the cryptocurrency market, many coins are down by 90 to 95%, if you can believe it. Surprising, but the issue is that eventually the stock market will follow suit as well, and you can't have a situation where everything collapses, because then everything collapses. And I mean, like, not in like a figurative, like down by 40, 50%. I mean like stocks literally being worth $1 when they were worth $800 before, because there's no new money actually entering the market. So everyone's kind of waiting for this monumentous occasion where the Federal Reserve will once again turn on the money printer. And I'm expecting by the end of this year or sometime around spring. I don't know the Fed. I don't talk to the Fed. Take my spring very lightly, grain of salt, if you will. It's more of a mathematically, this can't go on until the end of next year. And we've seen that when we have had indications that the Federal Reserve is not going to be raising interest rates by 1%, but by 0.75%. The stock market has actually picked up a bit, as has the cryptocurrency market. So one can logically assume when they announce we are no longer raising interest rates anymore, all markets will begin to roar back up. The housing market is down. I'm sure someone out there just said, yay! I have a couple of friends who've been looking to buy property, and a lot of people have wondered for a number of years if we were in some sort of a bubble. I think yes and no. Basically, any land, if you've never heard the saying before, any land that we have, this is it. You can't build any more land. The outlines of cities, we can't stretch them out any further. And a lot of people, I've had this conversation before with people. People usually say, well, most cities are surrounded by forests. Yes, because you have to breathe. Yeah, weird, right? The idea that so many people keep thinking that we can continuously expand cities further and further is nonsensical. There's a certain amount of oxygen. That was my phone. Let me, hold on. Put that on silent before someone texts me again. The idea is that you need a certain amount of oxygen to be able to breathe. If we keep cutting down trees to expand cities further out, therefore, oxygen. But the other idea is that anyone who's actually building property right now tend to just be private investors who have millions or billions of dollars to be able to do so. And they're only building luxury property, which is also another issue because also if you tie into that as well, it's a lot going on in the world. The idea is that so many places have been built on the premise that the market would continue going up forever. And this is usually when you can kind of ascertain that we're in some sort of a bubble or things are going to kind of ease themselves on down because nothing goes up forever. It's the same exact thing. One of the major issues that we see right now in the housing world has to do with, that's right, it's with China. Part of their issue was, or from what we've heard on the outside looking in, is that they had a massive real estate boom and have had it for the last 20 years or so. There have been tons of cities that have been built in China for this upcoming new rich class of people who were going to be buying tons of property. But the issue is a lot of these companies went bankrupt. They took out huge loans that they could not pay back. A lot of the housing market in China for these new cities are either empty. Think of that, an entire city that is now completely empty, and these people cannot pay loans back for apartments that they are not in, or there are people actually living inside of some of these apartments, and the apartments are only half done because they need a place to live, because they bought a house to live inside of that is not finished. So, earlier this year and the end of last year, this is the ramifications of what we're seeing right now, is that the housing market collapse within China has begun to rumble onto the rest of the world from the same exact developers who are also building in other countries around the world as well. So the idea has always been that, like the idea of too big to fail, it's more like they're too big, they're also failing, and the rest of the world is going to start to fail with them as well. We're also seeing housing prices drop. I can't even name all the countries. Everywhere. It's mainly England, Canada, many parts of Europe, the United States, and once again, Asia, as an entirety that we tend to gauge for the market. So as interest rates are going up, people are far less likely to be able to take out mortgages to be able to pay for these houses and homes, and therefore people who want to sell them, there are no real buyers because most people are getting them with mortgages, but the mortgage rate is too high, and therefore people aren't buying. So property prices are going down, and will continue to go down until the Fed actually raises or stops raising the interest rate. See how everything is tied together? Isn't it absolutely terrible? We live in such a really weird world where basically if they mess up, regardless of you don't even know them, you're also affected in this way as well. And this is why they're calling it like the everything crash or the everything bubble, because things got a bit out of hand, especially with all the free money printing. But now as everything else begins to pop, every other sector does the exact same thing. I try to look at it in a more optimistic way, or I would completely go insane. It's more of a, well, that's cool. If property prices go down, I have the opportunity in a year or so to be able to buy more at a cheaper amount. And or we typically historically see tons of stock market crashes and market crashes in general all over the place, all the time. They tend to happen. We are already well overdue for the current market crash. That should have actually taken place again in 2016, as we typically see between every 7 or 8 years from the last market crash. There tends to be another market crash, so we're a little bit overdue for that one. But I like to think markets will eventually go back up, so I try not to fret. Also, as you might have seen as well, jobless numbers also are continuing to rise. The gig economy is expanding, but this also means the amount of people who do not have proper jobs and or full-time jobs continues to grow as well. And this is also very bad because a lot of people in many different situations, this is also another topic as well, don't have or aren't acquiring what they need to have a proper pension. We are also about this close away from the pension retirement crisis. There are tons of people who have worked their entire lives and their pensions were actually wiped out in 2008, 2009. And they've been trying to regrow them again, but you need about a good 30 to 40 years of investing to be able to have a proper nest egg. The idea, I remember when I was a kid, the entire idea was you needed roughly around $1 million to be able to retire. That's if you have not invested and you are simply taking away from that actual nest egg. Part of the problem is that the situation that we see right now because of all the money printing and the actual inflation that we're going through, a lot of people can't save money. A lot of people are being kicked out of their homes. They have no other option or thing that they can actually do. And I am certain of this, and this is the worst part. Cloud just came in again. It's expected by the year 2035, 2040, depending on which country you're in, pension programs will run out of money. So basically, a lot of people who are planning to retire in 20 or so years, because a lot of people in the world aren't saving or aren't investing, or simply cannot do so, will not have any money. They will not ever be able to retire, and this event that we're currently going through is only exacerbating it. I say sometimes to my friends and on the other channel, what a time to be alive, but it's true. We are living through such weird, insane, like this is actual history. Like this, we are living through it, but we will see this moment in history books sometime in the future. And we're all, lucky enough to be going through it. So at the moment, current analysts do believe that, once again, not an oracle, not a wizard. They believe that what we are currently going through is actually going to continue sometime into next year. There are a lot of people who believe that we are on our way further down, that there's about a good 30 to 40% more that the stock market actually has to fall. No one knows for certain, but I hope that for the future, if you have not already, you understand the importance of investing, of diversifying your investments and having multiple streams of income. I won't get into it too much in this video, but a lot of people keep forgetting that rainy days do happen. A lot of people think that the good times will roll on forever, and they do not. So, in accordance with this channel, whenever markets do go back up, we are going to have more discussions as to about investing, where to put money, how to diversify, how to have extra streams of income, because I think we are rapidly approaching into a world. Once we get to the point where people who are trying to retire can't retire, which is already now, but there's no more money left in pension funds and people literally can never retire, your future self is going to thank your present self right now for having put money away, because the idea of never being able to retire is probably the most depressing thing I've ever heard of in my entire life. I do hope that you've all enjoyed. Sorry for the heavy tone, and as the clouds rolled in, it's now very dark in here, but you understand what I'm talking about. Hope you all enjoyed. Hope you all are having a great day, great morning, great afternoon, great evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, commenting, and or supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.